Welcome to all of our guests today listening now and those who will listen later. We are Nancy and David, and we together team up for soul empowerment, which is all things doing with your own journey of making your way in and through the soul essence of who you are. So all of our unique topics just filter through what is it that we are needing to learn and to do and to be to promote our awareness of what our soul needs and how are we living that in our day-to-day lives. So we're always got something going on, and our topics all are interconnected and interrelated, which brings us up. Well, before I get started, I'm Nancy Stevens. I am the co-host together with David, and both David and I are members, as you are, of the Wellness Universe. We have been around for quite a while and really enjoy using the means such as our show here on Learn It Live and all the other work. So if you want to take a deeper dive into being connected into a real authentic and loving community, I would say, if you're not already, to join in the Wellness Universe. We have an in-person event coming up in October of 2021, which is Soul Treat. David, as at this point, is slated to be a presenter, and I am going to be an experience provider. Wellness Universe also has now its own self-care books. I was fortunate to be a co-author on the first book that came out in November, and David is working, I believe, on his third self-care book. Is that right, David?
Yeah, it's called the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Guide to Self-Care, or Guide to Complete Self-Care. I always get those mixed up.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of volumes right here behind me. Those are the two that I participated in, and the third one is going to be coming out in June.
Yeah, so Wellness Universe is a multifaceted platform that connects all of us together live via our shows with our own beautiful series of self-care books. We have an in-person event once a year called Soul Treat, which it brings anybody and everybody together for the essence of self-care, well-being, learning, and growing. And of course, we have our live Wellness Universe connected through Wellness Universe, Instagram, Facebook. So lots of things going on here. Now we'll bring you to our show. So I'm Nancy Stevens, co-host. When I'm not coasting with David, I enjoy leading lots of mind-body fitness classes. I enjoy coaching as a well-being lifestyle coach, and I'm wearing a new hat. I've just released, together with my business partner, a line of uplifting, clean, active skincare products. So all things doing with health, well-being, and betterment. David, I'm going to hand this over to you so you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Okay. Yeah, so it's self-care, skincare type of product. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. My name is David McLeod. I am your life mastery coach. I have been with the Wellness Universe for probably a couple of years now, 2.5 or 3 years or something like that. And I'm also an author, a speaker, and I do lots of things. I'm a pretty busy guy. But I love doing this because I love bringing the message to people of how they can have a better life. And that's what this show is really all about. Soul empowerment is about allowing your soul to become more in control, if you like, of your life, rather than having the ego mind in charge, which unfortunately a lot of people are in that mode. So getting the ego mind kind of out of the way, not getting rid of it, but finding a way to tame it and control it, and then allowing the soul to bring forth our true essence. And that's really what this is all about. And I think this is episode number 17 or 18. I can't remember our number right off the top of my head. I think it's number 18 now. And today we're talking about the loving light of self-accountability. So why don't we just get started? We'll talk a little bit about what is accountability in the first place, and why do we even care about it?
Well, thank you for opening up to that segue. So initially, I call the well-worn thought pattern of accountability is that it's a means of keeping us on track, a means of showing out to the world what we've shared, what we want to do or think, or our agreements. That accountability piece basically shows the world that we've either done what we've stated or agreed on or not done it. So that seems to be kind of how people view accountability. And then, of course, that comes with shame and blame or guilt that if it wasn't done, oh my gosh, if it was done, wow, look at me. So that's kind of the old school model, as David and I discussed before doing our show, of the accountability piece as a means of letting the world know what you're doing. And if you do it, great. If not, oh my gosh. One of the real facets of self-accountability is actually that it's a tool. It's a tool to be used for learning and growth, removed from the shame and blame.
Right. Yeah. I think what people need to understand in terms of accountability, first we have to start with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Integrity is, well, everybody knows what integrity is, I think. Basically, most people would say that integrity would be honoring your word, doing what you say you will do and not doing what you say you will not do. That's how most people view integrity. I believe that integrity goes even deeper than that, because if I am really fully in integrity with who I am, not only are my words and my words and my actions in alignment, but also my thoughts and my emotions are in alignment. Because think about it this way. If I am allowing my ego mind to run the show in my life, then I may well honor my words and my actions, but not really be aligned with it as to who I really am. I'm doing it because I believe that's what's going to make you happy, or I do it because I'm looking for approval, or I'm trying to, get some bonus points or some marks or something. And that's how, when I say you may appear to be in integrity, but still be out of integrity within the truth of who you really are. And so it's important to understand those differences. Now, no matter, so I'll just give you my definition of integrity as a state of being in which my thoughts, words, actions, and emotions are all lined up the same way. They're all pointing in the same direction. And in particular, they are pointed in the direction of my purpose for being here. Everything I think, say, do, or feel is aligned with my purpose. That is when I am most in integrity. And I believe that that is a great definition. It's one that's worked very well for me. And I think anybody can adopt that and begin practicing that. Now, the problem, of course, is no matter how amazing you are, you're going to slip from time to time. You're going to make an agreement with somebody. You're going to make a commitment, whether it's verbal or whether it's written, doesn't matter. And sooner or later, you're going to not abide or not honor your commitment. And when that happens, this is when, so Nancy was talking about the typical accountability kind of approach. We hear this, I'm going to hold you accountable. We're going to hold him accountable. The political agenda is about holding somebody accountable. The moment they say those terms, you know exactly what they mean. We're going to make this guy look like a total asshole, and we're going to knock him down several notches, and we're going to make him unpopular so he won't get voted in again. That is the typical approach that is used for accountability. And we're trying to change the dynamic here. So does that all make sense to you, Nancy?
Yes, it does. And I am in alignment with your explanation, because if you think about it, the traditional approach, or what we all learned, it comes from a place, again, that's heavy and negative, that wants to shame, blame, or fulfill an ego. And how can we deepen our place of authentic integrity if we're always living externally, looking for that validation, or that I am or am not, or looking to another? So this takes that piece and brings it back to the person at hand to use, again, as a tool to grow and deepen and realign if we're out of alignment areas in our life that we say matter and really begin to let that set in and gel. And I'm a work in progress with that. I think that's why our show topic came up, which David and I are going to.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And that's the point. That's the point. Yeah. We're all a work in progress. No one, I don't believe anyone, any decent human being expects perfection really from anybody. Anyone who expects perfection is probably tied up in his or her ego mind to begin with and has a huge amount of expectation of himself or herself. And if we can learn to be more compassionate and more forgiving, then that level of expectation immediately starts to drop down. We become more aware of the fact that all of us are just here bringing the gifts that we have and doing the best that we can with what we have to live the best possible life. 99% of the people on this planet are not out to do damage, you know? Most people, I just want to live their lives and have a good life. Unfortunately, a lot of people are living in, let's say, dysfunctional belief systems that lead them to behave in ways that might not appear so good. You know what I mean? And so consequently, we do have a lot of apparently dysfunctional behavior happening in the world that does cause chaos and cause damage in the world. But anybody who is elevated enough in consciousness to recognize that he or she is out of integrity with respect to, let's say, a particular agreement or something, that person now has an opportunity to look inside and say, I wonder what that's all about. Why did I let that slip? Why did I do something that allowed me to get out of integrity in the first place? And that's why we're calling this self-accountability. We believe that I can't really hold you accountable, even though in our political world, we see people claiming to go and do that. In reality, all I can do is invite you to hold yourself accountable, and not for the purpose of making yourself wrong, but rather for the purpose of allowing you to learn something about yourself so that you can grow and develop and maybe, become more integrous in the way you show up in life. That's what this is all about.
I love that. And as you were speaking, the thought, bringing the tool in of self-accountability versus asking others to hold us accountable or putting that out there, it really brings each one of us who becomes aware of this piece, how to utilize it.
Right.
And again, keep agreements that we've set, whether it's something that's just personal to ourselves, work agreements, relationship agreements, financial agreements, that we are taking ownership of that versus throwing it out, hoping that somebody else will give us that ownership or that we'll respond to, the old way, the shame, blame, and guilt. So
right.
It's a powerful tool, and it's one that's available to everyone as we counter that. And that's another thing. The old accountability was not, if you think about it, it's based on ego. It might have come from an excellent place, but it's based on ego and more you either did or you didn't, or I did or I didn't, rather than on exploring how can I be in a congruent, loving relationship with myself, all of myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. It really is about self-love. Mm-hmm. If I love myself enough, then I am willing to look at those parts of myself that might be leading me astray. I am willing to look at those parts of myself that misbehave, that act out, these shadow parts that I don't necessarily have complete awareness of. And that's one of the beauties of self-accountability, by the way. Last time, I think, a month ago, we did an episode about the shadow. We called it Treasure in the Shadows.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at a way of one tool that you can use to help illuminate the shadow. And then once you become aware of the shadow, you can start healing it, and you can start integrating that part back in and take the gifts that that shadow part has and use them for something constructive rather than the destructive stuff that it seems to be doing in order to get approval or self-love or some other form of dysfunctional accolades, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And we could say that this self-accountability work is a way for all of us to make friends with our shadow rather than hiding from it or denying it or just being unaware of that.
Right. Nicely put.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is very powerful. It is very powerful work. As we've worked together on our show, I can't tell you how many times in the game of life where I've had ample opportunities to pull forth what we have brought up, that your treasure in the shadows, just being open to what life gives you and learning how to respond with that versus doing the old ego, the dance with your ego, right, wrong, good, bad, ugly, or beautiful. So today is just another incredible means of us making friends with our shadow, and we all have that shadow side, even.
Yep. Absolutely. And I just like to say, now this is a little bit of a plug, but all of this stuff that we talk about here is, I go through a lot of details in this book, A Life to Die For. So it's called Life to Die For, Master 10 Key Skills to Transform Your Life into a Priceless Treasure. And every topic that we have done so far, I touch on in this book. I mean, it's got basically 10 chapters. And each chapter goes into detail on one of the specific keys, well, things that I consider to be key skills that you need to know in order to live a positive life. And integrity is one of those chapters. And so self-accountability is a part of the chapter on integrity. So I can, you're not gonna be able to read that, but it's right in here. Now I recommend that you pick up a copy of this book. I'm not just bragging because it's my book.
Oh. Can we get it on Amazon? Where do we get that?
Yeah, you can pick it up on Amazon. It's called A Life to Die For. And if you do pick it up, I would love it if you would, read it and leave a review on Amazon. That really does help to promote the book. But the reason I'm bringing this up is you can, if you want to participate with our teachings, you can get this book and you can maybe do a little bit of study in advance if you can kind of figure out what it is we're talking about. We don't always, refer to this book, but I just want you to know that that's where most of the material is coming from. So I see we got quite a few people on here today. Nancy, I just wanted to say hi to Alex and Chrissy and
hi guys.
I'm going to hope I pronounce that. Is that Nike, Paul and Renee? Welcome everybody. If you like to just say hello, just put your name. Tell us where you're from. Put it into the chat there so we know where you're from. And also, Nancy, you and I should put our little links in there so people can connect with us.
Yes.
I'm gonna just I think I've got mine now. Renee from Bermuda. Wow, I've been to Bermuda. I love that place. There is my link in the Wellness Universe. Feel free to head over there and connect with me. If you're a member of the Wellness Universe, you can actually connect with me. And hello, Chrissy from Long Island. Welcome.
Welcome.
Bermuda. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
Oh, I got to tell you, it's one of the most beautiful islands in the Atlantic. It's just amazing. Yeah, I've had the good fortune to be there like 2 or 3 times when I was in the military. Oh, beautiful place. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out about the book and why we're talking about this. So let's just go into a little bit of detail now. We've kind of suggested that. Oh, what's that, Nancy? We're here waiting for you. Then, yeah.
Well, you know what? Okay, I did not copy and paste my link, so I don't know how to. How do I get onto mine if I haven't copied and pasted my link? I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and
well, just pop over to another tab on the on this
Okay.
browser. Go to the Wellness Universe, find your link, and then just copy
All
and paste.
right. Oh my gosh. Our David will keep talking.
Yeah. So I wanted to start us off talking a little bit about what self-accountability is and is not. And I think we've already alluded to some of this. We've seen the way accountability has been used kind of as a weapon in political circles and elsewhere. And clearly that's not what it is. That is not the intention of self-accountability. Accountability is not about shaming or blaming or making somebody wrong. Accountability is about having the opportunity to look at choices made and the consequences of those choices and what might have been driving those choices in the first place. That's really what it's all about. It's you can use self-accountability in any circumstance where you find yourself, let's say, out of integrity with respect to an agreement or a commitment that you have with somebody. That's the easiest way, because the moment you're out, you have dishonored an agreement. There's something going on that you may not be aware of. You know, like, I'll just give you a simple example. You're supposed to go to a restaurant and meet a friend at, say, 6 p.m. or 6:30, whatever time. You're supposed to be there at 6:30 and you show up at 7 o'clock. Well, how often do we just, brush that off? Oh, it's just late, or make up an excuse. Oh, there was a lot of traffic. Oh, I had to drop my kid off. Oh, this, that, the other thing. We just make an excuse and figure that that's enough. Well, okay. There may actually be a good, legitimate reason outside of your own choices that prevents you from being on time. Maybe there really is a car crash. Maybe you got into a car crash. Who knows? But the point of it is something happened that led you to violate the agreement, whether it was intentional or not. Now, here's what's interesting. I've often played little games with people when I ask them. I said, okay, so you had traffic and this and that and the other thing. I said, if I had a $5 million ticket here waiting for you, a check for $5 million, and it meant that you had to be here by 6:30, could you have made it? And more often than not, people say, yeah, I probably could have made it. So when they say, yeah, I probably could have made it, there's something else going on. They made a choice that caused them to be late, even though they have an excuse and it's all set to go and everything. All right. So this is not about making them wrong. It's just about being aware that sometimes we make choices unconsciously that have an impact on other things that are going on in our life. That's just the way things go. I mean, every choice has a consequence, at least one, right? You agree with that?
I do.
So if you're making a choice unconsciously, then you might want to bring some light into that situation to figure out what the unconscious choice was. Now, I can give you an example. Let's continue with this thing. I'm supposed to meet Nancy for dinner, let's say, at 6:30 at some restaurant. And we're both looking at this, or we're both looking forward to this. And so I don't show up until 7 o'clock. Nancy is sitting there fretting and worrying. I'm not aware that she's fretting and worrying, but she's beginning to fret and worry because half an hour is not normal for me. At most, she's never seen me later than 5 minutes. So when I'm 30 minutes late, she's starting to get worried. Maybe she's even tried to call me. Maybe who knows what she's doing. And meanwhile, who knows? I got caught up with something at work. I was doing something, and I just allowed myself to become enamored of the work I was doing. And I got so engrossed in what I was doing that I completely forgot about the time. Now, I could make up all kinds of excuses about, the traffic and other stuff like that. But the truth is, I allowed something else to become more important than my date with Nancy. That's the truth. And if I'm not willing to admit that in my heart, if I'm not willing to own that, then really I'm not a very decent human being. That's the way I see it. Now, at some point, I become aware of the fact that I'm running late. If I now do not make an effort to contact Nancy and let her know where I am and what I'm doing so that she doesn't worry about me, then I'm adding to the conflict. I'm adding to the problem. Do you see? So now what I'm doing is I'm compounding the issue. So I'm best off to at least call and let her know where I am, what's going on, and apologize for being late. And then once I get there, then I can go into a little bit of a self-accountability process. Okay? And that's what we're going to be talking about. We'll look at the self-accountability piece. So I might say, yeah, my boss has been on my case about, deadlines and everything, and I allowed myself to be swayed and trying to please my boss. I'm trying to please my boss, and I made that more important than trying to be present for you. Now, I'll tell you something. Just saying that, it probably has a much more powerful impact for Nancy than if I say, oh, sorry, I'm late, let's eat.
Mm-hmm.
That shallow apology gets nothing. A little bit of accountability, owning the truth that I allowed, my need for recognition to overshadow my desire for connection. That is much more meaningful to Nancy, because she probably already sees that anyway, but now I've put words to it, and she can say, okay, he's doing his work. I can trust him. That's the key. So the whole notion, now I've just kind of gone a little bit overboard here on a little bit of an example, but that's the idea. Do you see what I'm saying? How are you feeling about all that, Nancy?
I'm taking it all in, but yeah, that's exactly right. That the piece of explaining yourself a little bit more is to, quote in the example of, I was late because I was wanting to please my boss. So that's like, okay, you took ownership of why you were late in, the surface level versus, hey, life happens. I don't know what to say. Life happens. So yeah, that does, because that's that connection piece. But then that surface level piece, of course, the way we're working, the way we're approaching this, right. What was it that lies beneath the
exactly. And the thing is, most people who haven't done this kind of work wouldn't even say, I allowed my need for approval to exceed my need for connection with you. Most people wouldn't say that. Most people would just say, oh, my boss is on my case. I just had to get something done before I left. Most people would put it that way. Put it on the boss. That way I don't have to take responsibility.
And maybe they don't even know that they are
That's right.
wanting that approval, and they're again making it external. Well, this is expected of me. If I'm a good employee, if I value, I want to keep my job, on and on and on, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But really maybe it's, I want to be validated, seen, and noticed. And we have a really nice question from Renee here, just kind of glancing at that.
Go ahead, just read it out.
Yeah. Can I read that, Renee? I guess so. Okay. Need for approval over. Oh, okay. So Renee states, and everyone can see that, is you are looking for clarity on how does the new version align with holding someone else accountable for their words and actions that have caused harm to you. And you give an example that you've been in a relationship of emotional and psychological abuse where this person calls me darkness and puts all sorts of other word curses on me that are not mine. And I feel that my light causes him to see his own dark truths, and he resents me for that. I don't even have to say anything. It's like my presence just provokes his shame, and he lashes out at me. And I told him that he needs to take accountability and stop blaming me for what he doesn't like about himself. So you're getting onto something. I'm not trying to shame him, but I do want him to sort himself out, because his darkness gets in the way of us just being joyful. So you just kind of brought up exactly. Wanting him to take accountability, but you shared with him that what he is doing is not is not okay.
Right. And this is it's a very, there's a lot of stuff in that paragraph.
Yes, there is.
There's a lot of stuff there. I'm seeing things about projection. I'm seeing things about shadow. I'm seeing things about, wanting to be right. I'm seeing it on both sides. I recognize this. And we're not going to solve this problem here on this show today, I'm afraid. But perhaps what we share with you might help. I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning. I don't think it's really possible to hold someone else accountable.
Yeah.
It is possible to invite that other person to hold himself accountable. And once you learn this process, you might be able to use that, provided he's willing to allow you to facilitate. Very often, if I'm in a relationship with somebody and the charged energy comes up because the other person is doing something that I find unacceptable or a violation of our agreements or whatever, I'm probably not the right person to facilitate an accountability process, because I might not be totally clear. I might be allowing my own ego mind energy to come into play here. There may be a part of me that wants to make the other person wrong. So that's why we should have an impartial third party do this work for us. It's really, really important. Now, the other thing is when you have, let's say somebody does something that really gets you charged up and you're angry and you're all upset and you can feel yourself wanting to go on the attack. Well, there is another process that you can do that can help you, because very often, if you are interested in attacking the other person or judging the other person or making the other person wrong, there's a good chance that what you are seeing is something that's inside yourself that you don't want to acknowledge. This is another way of revealing shadow, allowing yourself to recognize your own projections that you're putting onto another person. And when you have these two processes, the clearing process and the self-accountability process, when they're working together, then relationships really can heal and become whole again. So I don't want to go into too much detail on that. Clearing is a complex process that really does require a facilitator. I've done many, many clearings with people, and it's powerful. It is very powerful, especially when the one person is extremely angry and the other person is kind of surprised by the level of the anger. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. So Nancy, so we've talked a little bit about what self-accountability is and is not. What do we want to do next?
Well, we did discuss in our pre-show work and written it down that we, at some point, maybe now or maybe a little bit later, going through the self-accountability process with you facilitating me, and how this would play out so everybody can see and understand how this.
All right, let's just do that. So let me quickly itemize the steps in the process. Yeah. First, you want to find out what the original agreement was. That's the first question. The second question is, did you honor the agreement or not? Usually the answer is no. And in that case, we want to continue the process. Third, we want to find out what choices were made, conscious or otherwise. And this may require a little bit of digging, because sometimes the choices may seem a little bit superfluous and not necessarily the real cause of the issue. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of take it down to a certain level. And once you get down to a level, you can say, do you recognize a shadow in this behavior? Once you see it, then you can say, oh yeah, I see that. And I see where that comes from. That comes from this or that or the other thing or whatever. It doesn't matter. Once you've got that clear and you have an understanding of where your own energy is coming from, now you can begin the process of healing and saying, so the way we would do this really easy is say, well, then would you like to make a new agreement to bring yourself back into integrity? And when you make the new agreement is something that you should choose for yourself that helps you to maybe come face to face with that shadow a little more and do some deeper healing work. And then use somebody as a support person to help you find your way through it. And that's really it. It's not about, I mean, obviously you're late. You cannot be unlate if that's the situation. Whatever the situation is, you cannot not do it anymore. You can, in future, make a commitment to be on time or whatever the whole thing is. You can make that commitment, and of course, that's kind of expected because that's what people in integrity do, right? But the real gift here is finding that shadow piece and then being willing to do some personal work on it. So that's how it goes. And if you're willing to do this, I'm willing to facilitate.
All right. Well, I'm curious and interested as well. So
okay.
I am ready for this, and everyone else, all of you get to come along and see how this works, and maybe it'll get some things flowing up in you where you are with your shadow.
Great. So, all right, Nancy, you have agreed to hold yourself accountable. I'm going to start by asking you, what was the agreement that you had, and who with?
The agreement I had was with you, and it was for us to meet at 1 p.m. online to discuss our upcoming show.
Okay. That's your understanding of the agreement.
That is.
And this is an important piece, folks. I may have a different understanding of the agreement, and that's not relevant. What matters is what Nancy understands, because this is the important part right now. Okay, good. So I want to make clear on that. All right, thank you, Nancy. Did you honor that agreement?
No.
Okay. And so would you like to hold yourself accountable for failing to honor that agreement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is where we're going to get a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask you, since you didn't honor the agreement, what did you do instead? What choice did you make besides honoring the agreement?
The choice I made was, as I was in process of driving from one location back to my home, was to stop and run some errands, because I knew that where I was driving was going to take me to these places of business. So I made the choice to stop in and run some errands.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. So you made a choice to take a detour and complete some errands that you thought were important at the time.
Yes.
All right. Now, I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. When you make a choice like that, what unconscious message do you imagine that you are transmitting to me or to the person that you have the agreement with?
I know this is where it's ugly. It's like, that what I need is more important than our meeting, and that maybe you matter less. You matter less than what I have going on. It's just not as important. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that is, your words may have said one thing, but your actions said something else. And that's something that's really important for us to be willing to look at. And so thank you for doing that. So you acknowledge that your message may have given me the idea that I'm not important, that I don't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Now I know you, Nancy. I know that you are a beautiful, loving woman, and I'm about 100% certain that you didn't consciously think of that when you decided to take that little detour. So no. It was an unconscious. It was an unconscious awareness, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Has this sort of thing ever happened to you in the past where you you felt the need to make something else more important than connecting with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to specify any particular details, but can you think of a kind of a generalized pattern that seems to show up?
Yes. And it's a time, I guess I don't know, we'll call it a time pattern where I set an agreement to be somewhere at a certain time. And I either get there just at that time or a little bit after. So this is something that's similar, to what we do.
This is great. This is great. No, it's great. It's great. So now here's a good question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously you get something out of that behavior. Something is, there's a kind of a reward on the other hand, on the other side of that behavior. So tell me a little bit about what that is. I mean, how do you feel when you do that?
Yeah. So for instance, if it's a time commitment agreement, I'm trying to figure out what would I get out of that. I guess it's a feeling that I'm getting more done before I leave, or I'm getting that last little break. And then when I'm driving to wherever it is, of course I don't feel good because I realize that I'm going to rush in or take a seat in the back. So I'm, in a few cases in life, there has been a legitimate logistical reason, but I'm what I'm receiving out of that is maybe, I don't even know, more time to get something that I don't even know, more downtime or more time to get these personal things done.
Right. So if I were to reflect this back to you, what I might say is, it sounds like there's a part of you that just tries to get as much as possible done within a certain amount of time. And the curiosity that I have right now is, why would this part of you want to get so much done in a short period of time? What would be the trade-off? What would be the payoff? What would be the goal? What would be the objective?
Just to feel I've completed something that will ultimately give me more time.
So you're wanting more time.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Interesting.
Or quiet time, downtime. That if I get
So now I get it. Now, well, I see something. This may not be true for you, but this is what I see. You're wanting to create space for yourself where you can just relax and just take good care of yourself. This is what I'm hearing. And yet you feel as if there are so many things you have to get done, there's no time for yourself. And so you steal it. Do you see what I'm saying here? Does that resonate?
Yeah, that's definitely that definitely holds a good piece of truth to it. Yeah, because
Right. So first of all, I want you to just take a breath and be gentle with yourself. Yeah. You don't need to hold yourself as bad, or a bad girl, or whatever the phrase is that you might have heard when you were a child. That's not true. You're just doing what you believe is right in order to take care of yourself. So, and I want to honor you for that. And I want to honor that part of you that recognizes that you are worthy enough to take care of yourself. This is really important.
Yeah.
All right. So you see how there may be a shadow part of you that tries to, push you to get things done so that you have more time for yourself later. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That part of you is trying to take care of you. That part of you is trying to love you in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that I have now, knowing what you know about this shadow part, is there a new agreement that you can make? First of all, do you want to get back in integrity?
Yes.
Okay. So given that you want to get back into integrity, what is one agreement you can make? A small step towards dealing with this shadow part that will help you to get back in integrity and stay in integrity.
To both honor the fact that I do enjoy accomplishing and getting things done in my day, while honoring the time I have for myself and others, and giving space, giving that space that will allow me to honor my time agreements while honoring my need for rest, and knowing that I have the ability to get to accomplish and get things done, that I'm not
right. So that sounds beautiful. And I also heard a lot of words. So what I'm going to recommend is that you make an agreement that will help you to honor and love this shadow part of yourself, while at the same time honoring your agreements outside of this part of yourself. Now, how might that look?
Honoring and loving my shadow self while honoring my agreements.
Yep. What might you do to make that possible?
Boy, it's easier to put this out onto others than ourselves. To honor my shadow self would be to build time during my day when I'm not needing to do things for me.
That's it. See, bingo, you hit it right on the head. This is perfect. Setting some time aside for yourself so that you can honor yourself and honor your shadow, or do whatever else you want to do. Rather than feeling as if you have to accomplish one more thing, simply schedule the time for yourself. Maybe it starts as a small amount of time, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something, where you do nothing but just sit down and meditate or read a book or whatever it is you want to do, right? This is what we're talking about here. We're talking about recognizing the shadow and then finding a way to integrate that shadow. That shadow has a gift for you, right? And that gift is taking time for yourself. But you need to also give yourself a break, in the sense that maybe I don't need to accomplish all this stuff in this moment. You see the two sides of this thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's very powerful. And that, yeah, very powerful, that what appears to be that surface level violation of the agreement, when you pull all the layers back, maybe the essence of that violation of the agreement for me was the felt need to have time for me while balancing being on time and honoring that.
Beautiful.
Interesting. Wow.
Well, so how do you feel right now, having gone through that?
I feel that I'm in alignment with my shadow, and congruent now that we did this work. That quote, the being late, isn't the essence of that. Being late was, I really need to honor making time for myself so that I show up fully in full integrity with my agreements.
See, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's when I do this with people who haven't done much of this work before, sometimes it's like pulling teeth. But you went right into it, and my sense was there was a little bit of discomfort at first,
Yeah.
and then you realized this wasn't going to be painful, and you allowed it to happen.
Yes. I'm just processing that. So I think, to reiterate my experience, we brace against our supposed broken agreements and our violation as, oh, well, here's another area where I'm faltering or I've failed. We use that to stop us from saying, what do I really need that I'm not getting right now? Or what's at the core here? And then when that comes out, how much more can we make true agreements? This plays out into so much interactions with ourselves and with others, that the essence, I'm getting it. So as we use a accountability piece as a tool, it really is, because going forward, I'm going to have that little thing. Wait a minute. Okay. I said I made I made time agreements. I know making time for myself is vital to my well-being. So how can I do both? Show up when I said I was going to, honoring that agreement, while building time in at some point for myself during the day to honor my need for quiet or stillness or reflection. Yeah. So creating that balance.
Have you ever noticed this? I certainly noticed it in my life. I go and look at my schedule, and almost everything on my schedule is time I've allocated for other people.
Oh, yeah.
Very rarely do I specifically allocate time for myself. I guess in my mind, I have this idea, well, if it's not allocated for other people, then it's mine. I can do what I want with it.
Yeah.
That might be a part of my thinking. I haven't really delved into this, but it's something for us all to think about. If it's important to spend time by yourself, doing something for yourself, then schedule it. Then it shows up on your calendar and you say, oh yeah, I remember now. I have this agreement with myself. So I guess the last question I would ask you is, excuse me, how will you know that you have completed this agreement?
When I guess achieve it or accomplish it with a felt sense of alignment that doesn't have resistance. Because I know that when our agreement was to meet at 1, I did have I felt the energy of resistance, and of course, look what played out. So I will know I'm in alignment and agreement when I don't have resistance, and when it's just accomplished. When it's accomplished.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of, I believe you made a commitment to put some time aside for yourself.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's the part I'm asking about. Okay. This is an agreement for you. I can support you if you like, but it's up to you to make the commitment, formalize the commitment, and then to follow through on the commitment. That's your part of the journey. So the question is, how will you know when you have accomplished this new agreement?
When I place with equal importance my need for daily time, when I've scheduled my own time in on the calendar every day for me, and I'm doing it.
Okay. So you're going to do this daily then, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Then I would encourage you to start today. If you can. I mean, maybe, I don't know what your schedule is like right now, but if you can't do it today, try to do it tomorrow, and then just make it happen on a regular basis. And then I'd like to hear back from you after some time about how it's going.
I will let you know, because I'm realizing as this process is raw and real. And I am realizing that although I pride myself on building time in the day, I have that well-worn habit pattern of going through the day, becoming more and more energy drained because I've made a lot of agreements with others about what specific things I need to facilitate, complete, and get done by the time I get into bed. So
Right.
even if I've taken that rest, it's like, oh, in the back of my mind is also a movie reel saying, okay, did I accomplish that? Did I make that phone call? Did I send that email? Did I start this? It's like, no. So
right. I've been there, done that. And especially as we are solopreneurs, it's not an unusual situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to just ask the folks who are watching this, if they got something out of this that they believe they can take home. If you think you got something that you can take home and use in your own life, please let us know. I'd appreciate it. I see an enthusiastic yes from Renee. I'd like to hear from the rest of you as well.
Let us know if there's anything that popped up to you or what you took away.
Right.
There's something
else I wanted to just mention here, and I think it's important. You kind of alluded to this yourself, Nancy, with all the agreements that you already have going on with other people. I think sometimes it makes sense for us individually to go and look at all of the agreements that we have with other people and to just kind of check in. Does this agreement still make sense in the context of who I am today, what my purpose is, why I'm here on the planet? Is this something that I want to continue? Do I want to stop it? Do I want to change it? What do I want to do? And if it is something that you want to keep, well, then maybe you might want to renegotiate it somehow. Maybe there's a little more detail that needs to be fleshed out. So you can always go back to the person with whom you have the agreement and say, I'd actually like to talk about this agreement, and get that person to have a communication with you. And then just kind of decide whether you're going to continue or do something different.
And this also could come up with, I think I shared with you that because I've started a skincare line and we're going to be really promoting it and working on that. It's making me take a look at my other agreements or commitments and going back and asking myself, do these agreements fit with where I am in my life today? How do I feel about that? If not, can I make some, edits, or what do I need to do? So you can use this process in your relationships with others, in your career. I know people, here oftentimes people are maybe really unhappy in their job or they're feeling stressed. You can use this process to see if you're in alignment with your career or if that's showing you, again, a personal side. So it's very powerful. I'm going to be doing more reflection myself about what's the state of things in my life and what needs to be edited or shifted or released.
Right. Yeah, I think periodic review is important for everyone, whether we're looking at our existing agreements and commitments, or whether we're just looking at our own personal belief systems. Either way, it's always a good idea. I recommend people do this at least 4 times a year, once every quarter, and take the time to just kind of do a little inventory on your beliefs, your commitments, and your agreements, and say, is this something I still want? Do I still believe this? Do I still have this agreement? What do I do? Is this congruent with who I am? And don't be afraid to say, no, it isn't. It's time for me to make a shift. And I see Renee, she says, I wrote down everything. Well, you must have been writing really fast because we talk a lot here. Yeah. I'm going to share those steps with him as a measuring stick for us individually and collectively. Thank you. Well, I would just like to remind you, Renee, all of the steps are in this book, A Life to Die For. So you can find them all there, and I would love to hear from you. You've got my link there, so feel free to connect with me and let me know how it goes.
Wow. Whew. I'm feeling very self-accountable right now. I'm feeling very full. I really appreciate you doing that process with me today, David, because it illuminated an area in my life that I am well aware of, and it just brought that home, that my shadow with relationship to agreement was trying to help me and protect me to take care of myself and my time needs. And so
Right.
had I just pursued ahead and said, oh, look at me, I need to work harder and do more to be on time, versus taking this deep dive, now I have a really beautiful renewed sense. And
That's great.
that's the piece of the self-accountability, using it as a tool, as a means to deepen your relationship with yourself and your agreements, versus using it as an old, well-worn measuring stick.
Right.
Who
Oh, Erica just asked, who is the author of the book? Well, I thought I said that, but it is my book. You can see my name on there. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's a book I wrote. When was it published? July 2020? No, July 2019. That's when it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, you can find it on I was going to say YouTube, but they don't publish books. Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. Anyway, Nancy, I'm so glad that this gave you a positive experience. This is what I was hoping that people would see, that self-accountability doesn't have to be about blame and shame. We can all come from a place of compassion and love, and we can support each other. I mean, that's what we're all here to do anyway, right? Is to grow into the most amazing beings we can possibly be. Well, when one of our brothers or sisters is struggling a little bit, we can step up and offer some support. That's what this is really all about. So
thank you. Yep. Another excellent discussion and sharing with you today, David. And we appreciate all of you who attended today. And again, it's a heartfelt desire that each one of you have received a really great takeaway today that will help you and others that you are in your life with, help you with your agreements.
Right. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time on Soul Empowerment.
Yeah. Until next time, take care, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.